At the same.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Dr. Pam, how are you?
I am good. How are you today?
Good, thank you for asking.
How's everybody doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Oh, we're talking about family theorists today. And again, just part of knowing those theories and knowing who said what. But before I start that, as usual, do you guys have any questions? Anything you want to ask me?
Yeah, I do.
Hello, Quinique. How are you? Go ahead.
You talking to me?
I said, how much do I ask you? Can you hear me? Am I loud?
Yeah, I can hear you. I thought you said
I,
Queenie.
I said hello to Quinique. That's what I did.
Oh,
I said
okay.
hello.
Okay. Hi. I wanted to ask you about if you were watching this Reiner case with the
Of course.
okay. And so I watched it today and I thought about you a lot when they
That he was crazy and I like crazy people.
but they changed this dude's medication, and I was just thinking, like, wow, looking at this case and seeing they changed his medication, and he had this whole episode where he killed his parents, and I just wanted to know what you thought about it, about this.
Um, so have you been watching it? I mean, it's yes, there was a change of medication, but it's been going on since he was like 16, 17. Have you? And he has been off and on drugs, and they have kicked him out and let him back in, and all of those things. So, um, I think he probably should have been hospitalized, and mom and dad just didn't want to do it.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times they said that they were treating the drugs, but not treating the mental condition, and he was in and out in 30 days, so like they couldn't really do anything with that, you know.
And he's an adult, so what do you do?
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think?
I think he should have been hospitalized. I do. I think that somebody in the mental health field took advantage of their parents probably because of money, and I feel like the system didn't serve the family.
So let's play devil's advocate that he's an adult, right? And if he wasn't, if there were no overt signs of homicide or suicide, are we going to start putting people in jail or in mental health facilities?
If there's no signs of homicide or suicide,
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't. The thing talks about that he was at a party before, and he and his family were talking, but no one at the party said that he was making homicidal threats to his family.
you know, I'm not understanding the question.
So, from his viewpoint, so are we gonna if I just because I'm a drug user and I don't stay on my medication, are you gonna hospitalize me for that?
Oh no, 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 no.
So, I mean I guess there's a fine line between um,
Well, someone I don't
his
know.
rights and
He
the.
had bizarre behavior. His behaviors was bizarre. They said once the medication changed, he became bizarre and delusional. And I thought at that point somebody would at that point, not for the drugs, but for the bizarre behaviors.
We don't hospitalize people that are delusional either.
Well, what about they said he
I'm
was
playing devil's advocate, right? We don't. There are people that are homeless that are talking to like God and all those things, right? And we don't just hospitalize them.
so no one. It was no imminent danger. No,
Isn't that the rule?
that's the rule. Yep. I would have
So
got
I
the
mean,
well.
we can always. I mean, I can play devil's advocate that if we hospitalize everybody that was delusional,
True. Okay.
I don't know. I think it's sad, and I think that I think it's just really sad. And obviously, from the crime scene, his parents had no idea what was coming,
Hmm.
and I think it's just really sad that Yeah, and I think that um, I need to believe that it really was a total um, psychotic break. I do. I need to think that nobody would do that to their parents. That's what helps me sleep at night. That there are very few people that are that evil that there had to be some kind of psychotic break.
Or can I play devil's advocate?
Of course,
What if something happened to him, like is it the Menendez brothers? They killed their parents, but all this terrible stuff happened and nobody knew. So like, what if something happened to this young man, and he did it for that reason?
maybe. Do you? I don't think the court agreed with the Mendez brothers. They didn't get released, did they?
I think they're supposed to get released.
I thought they already had their court date, and the judge said no.
Oh, last I looked at it, they were supposed to get. I thought they were supposed to get released. Maybe not. I need to go back, but I don't know.
I think that's a very interesting case. What if it's not true?
Like he didn't do
The
it.
Mendez brothers. What if their dad didn't molest them?
Oh, they need to stay where they're at.
I'm just saying that I just think that's a very interesting case. I don't know if it happened or not, but I mean, I'm just going to say that it didn't come up during trial.
Yeah. Mm.
Anybody else? Just share your thoughts. We're talking about family therapy. We're talking about family crazy.
I don't know what it was. My microphones weren't working, so I didn't hear anything when I started.
We are talking about very important test information. No, we're talking about news. We started off with the what's his name, Nick?
Right.
So yes, the famous couple that their son stabbed them to death. And then
Oh,
we went to the Mendez brothers of whether or not they actually. So Mastermind brought up. So what if his dad molested him when he was little? And I said, with the Mendez brothers, how do we know that's true or not? I mean, it didn't come up during court, and then it comes up like 20 years later. So how do you decide that?
I haven't followed is it the Reiner
Mm-hmm.
case?
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like someone say he had a medication change and that may have caused him to kill his parents. But I have seen, like, I guess working in mental health, like parents or a patient be like, oh, my doctor made this medication change and now I'm hearing voices or I'm having like thoughts to harm myself. So I have seen that. Maybe that could have
Mm-hmm.
been like he had a medication change and
I
just
mean, I
went
don't doubt that at
crazy.
all. I don't doubt that. But it had a long history of mental health. It wasn't like it was just yesterday. It was a long history. It had been going on since he was like 16
And
or
drug
17,
use.
and drug use. So
Yeah.
I always think that those always go hand in hand. I'm usually
Mhm.
trying to self-medicate. So, if I drink enough, the voices stop, or, whatever. My bipolar seems to be, uh, I have a lot of clients that self medicate with marijuana for bipolar. That seems to work better than any medication they've ever been prescribed. So I don't know. And I don't know. So
Dr.
I think,
Pep,
uh,
I got a chance to see the groups on the Charlie, what is it called? Finding Charlie, about Nick Reiner. So did you see that movie? You ever see the movie?
what's it about?
It's the Nick Reiner. He wrote the movie about his drug use.
No, no. I know
So
I've seen. Yeah, no. Do
a
you
month,
know that the only trial I paid attention to was P Diddy? Now, don't be acting like I paid attention to anybody else, okay?
I was able to P Diddy. No comment. I was able to identify stuff in this movie, like they were doing group therapy for he was in a substance program, and I kept hearing, you can earn this reward, or you're gonna have consequences, and they kept using the words reward and consequences, and then I was able to see like group, and they was doing some type of narrative therapy, and so I was able to see all of this through this movie, and then connected to this same case. So I thought that was pretty cool.
So let's go back then. So in groups or in residential facilities, most often we use a token economy. What is that?
That's rewards. They earn tokens, which are you can use the tokens for whatever, but it's not money.
So most often the difference between a token system is the points equal something. So you reward the kid immediately, but when you get like 10 tokens, then you have enough points to do something. So most often in a residential facility, you come in with no points, so you can't do anything. So like you can't even, leave your room, you can't do anything, and you have to earn enough tokens to get there. So, and now if we're doing positive negative reinforcement, what behaviorist is that?
Positive and negative reinforcement is Skinner.
Anybody? Skinner. Absolutely. And Pavlov does what?
It's classical
Conditioning. Yeah.
Okay. He pairs two things together, right? So those are both my behaviors. So whenever you see a behaviorist, and especially in a family question, remember behaviors could care less about how we behave, how we feel, how we do anything. It's only about rewards and consequences. I was looking to see if what happened with the Mendez brothers. I don't think they got out. Laura, you live in California, don't you? Well, you know everything in California.
I do. I live in California. I don't know about knowing everything, but
the Mendez brothers, did they get out?
no, they're still there. They didn't get out.
What do you think? Do you think that their father molested them, or do you think?
I think something happened. I don't know if it, but someone, something, somewhere, something happened. It's just, I don't know if it could just be medication changes. I know drug abuse, medications, all of that, mixing all of that can definitely cause someone to do horrible things. Like here in California, we had a case where that happened, where a son threw his mom from the second story window because he was on drugs. I don't know if anything happened to him when he was younger, but we knew these people, like as a family, we knew these people. But I wasn't close to them. So I know he murdered his mom. But again, I don't know if anything happened to him when he was younger or if there was some abuse, but I can't imagine there not being anything else happening that just hasn't been told.
Morgan, your camera has to be on. For everyone that comes to group with me, your camera always has to be on. You're more than welcome to listen to it later on your own, but when you're in my group, you have to fully participate and the camera has to be on. So okay, so let's continue. We're mental health experts here. So how come everybody then that's horribly abused doesn't kill their parents?
Resilience, maybe? Therapy?
There's no right or wrong. We know the answer, right?
I don't know. I mean, you can't be in all of your senses. That just, it doesn't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how angry you can be. I don't know if the Menendez did really have that happen to him.
I think everybody's different, though.
What was that?
I mean, I would. She said everybody's different.
Everybody's
Yeah,
different,
for sure, 100%.
There was a kid here in Detroit who she hit her grandmother in the head with a hammer because the grandmother didn't like the fact that she was a lesbian, and they killed the grandma, burnt the house up, and went to the show. Now, people don't like that I'm a lesbian, but I didn't hit nobody in the head and kill them. I don't know. So everybody's different. Everybody's different.
I don't know, but your grandmama. I'm joking. So let me go there. So part of that I think also is, remember, our brain doesn't fully develop until we're 25, and I think that and I had to say times are different, but I think that now we've got kids whose my brain is not fully developed, and now I have access to a lot more things than we had access to before. And we can't pretend like social media. I can see anything, anywhere, anytime. I could probably have an axe sent to my house if I needed to from Amazon. And those are things that just weren't as available before. I think that has a lot to do with it.
I agree.
I don't think people are more evil than they've ever been. I think they have more opportunity than they had before.
I like
Any other
that.
thoughts?
I agree with that. I never thought that way, but yeah, I agree.
Dr.
Let's.
Pamela, would it be with like, we've talked about roles and we've talked about hold on, let me not lose my train of thought. We've talked about how living in a family with siblings and you all are different. Every sibling is different, and it can
Mm-hmm.
depend on where the parents were at that time. What where my parents were when they had my sister was definitely different than where they were when they had my brother or I. And so I think there's a resilience kind of that each child might have that's just who they are. Um, that I don't know. I don't know how, I'm very different than my siblings. They still don't know what I do. So they're
Not
like,
right. Neither do my children.
you're
They
still
don't
studying
care.
for what? Or
My
are you
children,
like,
yeah, they don't
yeah.
care.
So
Uh, so, but they're not axe murderers. Nobody's in your family, unless
no.
you kept that from me. I mean, I think they're all relatively normally functioning human beings.
Yeah, but we're all very different.
I totally agree. And we're talking about behavior. I mean, we're talking about family therapy tonight. So that's definitely just as we go into that, um, most definitely. But so there's always the question of the um, gosh, what's it? Environment versus nature. So was it something that I was born with, or something that happened to me? And
Is that
I really,
nurture over nature?
yes. So which is which, right? We really don't know. But I've always said, and I've been in the field for a long time, I truly think that if for most of the kids that we see, if it were truly, truly something that was just they were born with, we wouldn't have jobs. There wouldn't be enough. Parenting has so much to do with it. It really does. And even when you have a child that's born with some difficulties, consistent parenting, good parenting, following through is really it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. So all of us are born with our crazy, and some of us more than others. But I think that parenting and raising children, and Margaret Mailer would say having the same in caregiver for the first 3 years of life, and all of those important things. And I don't know enough about any of those people's childhood, but I just think in general, um, most often I need to say that the if the nature part, if the nurture part played a bigger role, then there'd be less children we'd be treating. If the nurturing part, does that make sense? So if we're lots of kids are born with ADHD, not lots of kids end up doing stupid things. A lot of kids do well with structure. Mom and dads do whatever they need to do to make sure this kid behaves and does everything that you can do. Other parents don't do that. And we can say they didn't learn that from their parents, and we can talk about Bowen and generational and how we keep going, and how most of us don't take parenting classes, right? We continue to parent the same way that our parents parented us. Um, but again, that's my opinion, and that's what I've always thought, even before I had children. I just think a lot of it is uh, parents many times just we don't. It's too hard to take responsibility. It's easier just not to. We don't believe in an IP for the test. The IP is identified patient, and for the social workers, we don't believe that. And I realize that most social workers will see a child individually, and if I owned a business, I would too. And I'd farm the kid out to the siblings out to everybody in my business. But that's not what this code of ethics says. That the client is our whole family, and we treat the whole family as the problem, not just the kid. It also says when it comes to sharing, I've got a child that's a problem, or a family that's the problem. If I'm going to refer the siblings out, then I need to give them 3 referrals, and only one of them can be in my office. Right. So that is a conflict of interest if I give them to other therapists in my office, because then my agency is still making money off that one family. And that's unethical. Every agency does it, and I'd probably do it too, but it's still unethical. The family's supposed to be the problem. We're going to talk about it. Anybody else want to ask you anything else? And we were talking about families tonight, so if you want to ask anything else on that same line, feel free. So on the tests, most often the big 3 that we see are going to be strategic, structure, and systems theory, which is Bowen. Do you all know what the eco map is? Let me go back and just kind of teach in general, and let's go and break it down into schools and see what it looks like. Does this look familiar to anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Oops. So this is Bron Brimmer. And he did, what did he do? He's systems theory. Basically, he says, and he's the one that taught us, that everything we do is interrelated. So when we talk about, I'm trying to find my Word doc for that. One second, sorry. One second, I just have a document that I want to open and use. One maybe. Just a sec. I've taught this like 17 times this weekend. So hold on, I just want to use the same document. While I'm pulling that up. So in general, what Bron-Vember said is that everything we do is interrelated. So we start off with the chronozone system. So the chronozone system is a big picture. Most often we talk about like the macro and the micro system. We talk about macro being like not direct practice, right? So anything that's not direct practice would be considered a macro, and micro would be when it's a direct practice, when you're actually working with a client. However, Bron-Vember said there were bigger circles than that, and we needed to look at the whole thing. So if we go back and we look at, and usually if you watch my older videos, I usually talk about COVID when I talk about the chronozone system. But let's talk about global warming or climate change. So remember, back in the day when none of you were born yet, except probably Gloria, Al Gore, in the 90s, he warned us all that climate was changing. Do we remember that? Never heard of him, don't have a clue.
Who said that?
Al Gore. He was the first one that brought climate change to us in the 90s.
I know he is, but I don't remember.
Yeah, you probably weren't born. but you lived in a world since you were born that we've been more aware of our environment. the chronozone system in general, and really, even now, there are people that don't believe it. But in general, we know that the climate, the planet is warming, right? We know that things are changing. So that's the chronozone system. That's a big picture. Okay, one second. I just want maybe I didn't save it. I didn't. Okay, sorry, I didn't save it. Okay, so anyway, what we know in general is that the world is changing. So when we look at the chronozone system, we really look at how it affects everything. Share my screen again. Close out 1,000 windows. Do you hear my doggies barking? You hear them?
No.
Good. Okay, so back to that. So the goal of this theory really talks about then how we go from this chromosome system to things that affect the entire world, of how it ends up affecting us all personally. So really, back in the 90s, we really never thought global warming was something that would ever happen. We talked about it, blah, blah, blah. We have seen overall, we've seen macro systems. And when we say macro, we're going to go with global economies. We've seen lots of other countries make changes. We've seen China really focus on not more electric cars in other countries. We use more electric cars, doing a lot of things to really look at saving our environment. Americans not top on that list. But in general, can you talk to me about personally or your family? How is the change in the chromosome, knowing that global warming exists, knowing that we have to recycle, we have to reuse, how have all those things affected you personally? Anybody?
Well, I don't know if it counts, but like when we had shut down in 2020, everybody started working from home.
Okay. So that had to do with COVID. That had nothing to do with global warming, though.
Not global warming.
So tell me about, have you started recycling? Have you started, you do things differently, being aware that we need to be more aware of our climate?
So we don't recycle, but when we have family that comes down from California, they're looking at us like, why y'all not recycling? But we never really, I guess we don't really think it's a big deal, but I think in some areas it is.
So that's the issue. It affects everybody, right?
Yeah.
So if we look, I mean, did any of us ever think that, those hurricanes that hit over water would end up in the mountains? Right? I mean, that hurricane came across the United States and flooded the mountains of people that live nowhere near water. Isn't that a little strange?
Mm-hmm.
And if we look at definitely California, the wildfires, I mean, we see every year those things get worse and worse and worse. So have we not personally done anything to affect that, or we just, you do not have children? Because usually your children are the ones that convict you. Mom, what do you mean you're not recycling? Okay, I'll admit I don't like sugar straws. Okay, when I'm on my cruise, I take my own straw because I miss those paper straws. I don't like sugar straws. Things like that are things that we've all changed personally. It's usually affected us personally. Um, Christmas, was it not much warmer where you lived this year than ever? Did that not concern you? That's a little strange. So the whole thing of Bronfman members system is when things happen in China, when things happen anywhere, we're still on the same planet. And we've got to be concerned. In social work now, there are classes and counseling too. There are counseling actually counts on the environment and the importance of really learning to save our environment. And thank God not having to print out 17 pages of everything that we did back in the day. Somebody else. This is like, you have children, Gloria. Have your children not warned you that you need to do something different?
Yes, all the time. And my husband and I are not very good at recycling, but we do have different bins. So,
At least you've got them there, right? You're just not sure what to do with them.
right. I mean, they're outside of the house, but inside the house, I can't have three different trash cans. Like, so we have one, and, we try to, keep the stuff that we can recycle in a box and do the best that we can. But yes, they remind me all the time. Like, what do I do? Shouldn't we recycle? Yeah, we should. It's a good thing to do, but sometimes we can't. When we go out, there's always different bins, like if you're landfill. And so my girls are like mindful of putting it where it belongs. Um, but I don't really do a good job of being a role model about it, honestly.
So Bronfman Bremer would say all of us are the problem, right? That we haven't made the connection that what we do individually affects everything globally. And that's the whole theory of Bronfman Bremer is everything is connected. That happens. What happens in China eventually is going to affect me over here. What happens in any part of the world is eventually going to happen to us here. And that's the whole picture of Bronfman Bremer. Okay, so that's systems theory, but we break it down into actually the eco map. We break it down. That's just the whole theory. Whenever you see a systems theory, the goal is everything is interrelated. That's the whole part of that. So the goal of that then is to break it down and to look at how it's broken down too. And that's where we see our eco map. Do you recall an eco map from school? And how is it different than a genogram?
Well,
Give me
like
some thoughts.
genogram is more your environments, your circles,
The genogram, think generations.
but generation.
Okay, so that's generations. So my eco map is then your environment as a person. We're talking about families today, so we're going to look at the environment as a family, but that's our goal is it's the person that's the problem. I mean, it's the family that we're looking at. My mouse battery's dead. That's the problem. Let me just do something and change my battery. One second. There we go. Much better. Okay. Okay. I'll try to close all the windows. Hopefully that'll help. Just don't know why are so slow. So my eco map really looks at the environment as we put everything together, but it is just my computer's just had enough and I'm trying to close everything out. Give me half a second. I'm just gonna have to reboot. It's just had enough. Sorry. Mhm. Thank you very much. Sorry, I just had to reboot and turn everything off and start over again. Okay, I apologize, I really do. So let me share my screen again and we'll get started. Okay, so what I was starting off before, we were talking about Bronfenbrenner, Brimmer, and Bronfenbrenner is the systems theory. We stole that theory for social work, but system really means that everything that we do is interrelated. So the eco map, am I sharing my screen? The eco map is the map that looks at the environment of the family. So the macro system, what we saw earlier, all the things that were surrounding the individual are the things that help a family grow as well. So in this particular one, this is the family and this is their micro system. This is the whole family. When we look at meso and micro in general, whether it's MEZ or MES, I defined my meso system. So my microsystem might be my church, but it also might be my mesosystem. Everyone gets to decide who's in your inner circle and who's in your outer circle. A baby's microsystem are mom and dad, right? A baby can't live without mom and dad. But individuals, your microsystem of how you survive every day may be different than other people's. Okay. So in this particular family, we see Adam and Louise, and Adam is always the dad. The square is the dad. Louise is the circle. They're always first. Whether we see a structural family map, which is Minuchin, whether we see a genogram, which is going to be Bowen, or this one, and doesn't belong to anybody. It's just called an eco map. So all we're looking at is how the relationships affect each other. So, and again, we saw the bigger picture of all the circles. And so in this one, we see that their macro system, things that support this family, include dad's job, right? He's a work foreman. We see college sports, volleyball. We see church. We see the school, the students, right? All of these things support this family. So what can you tell me just by looking at this family? So remember, the arrows go either both ways if the family is being, if it's give and take. So if we look at church, so what about mom and church?
It looked like that's a stressful relationship.
For mom is Louise.
Oh, okay. It's positive, it looks like.
Okay, is it going both ways?
No.
So what can you tell me about mom and church?
It looked like church is a benefit to Louise, but she's not putting up anything back into it.
She ain't volunteered for no usher board, not singing in the choir. She's not helping out in the child care, right? So she really, she's taking but not giving. We see like dad, he's the work foreman, so he gives to that system and that system gives to him. That works well, right? So we know that systems theory says there's got to be input and output. So if there's not input and output, eventually one of those systems is going to die. So in this family, again, we see that college sports that gives to Michelle, but it looks like that Michelle doesn't spend a lot of time with college sports. See, there's no arrow going back. It's strange that dad has an arrow on both ends. So dad, I don't know, is into college sports and he gives to him and it gives to him, but his daughter who's playing sports is not giving anything back to it. What could that mean?
She's not really interested.
Something, yeah, something that's a little strange. She got a scholarship, but I don't know that she really wanted it, right? She's using it, but she's not putting any effort into it. Maybe dad wanted her to. Maybe it's important to dad, but not necessarily important to her. Right? I don't know, but that's what it looks like in the eco map. So the eco map again talks about the your environment, how systems affect your environment. So if we go down again, we talk about family systems theory. This is where we can learn about entropy and negative entropy. So that same kind of system that we saw, we're just breaking it down even further. So we see that in every family, no matter what theory we believe, there's always mom and dad are always in charge. At the top of every system, mom and dad are in charge. We see that mom and dad not only are mom and dad, but they're also separate people. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and I'm my own separate subsystem in addition to the parental subsystem. The same thing with the children. The children are below, but the son and the daughter, they're separate people, but they're still part of the sibling subsystem. What we know in general with every system that we see, if something happens and the system closes up, the system will die. Okay, so we can see with many times we work with families that we've had defects step in. We've had alcoholics or drug users. I was in a group right before you. We were talking about, I had a group of guidance counselors, and we were talking about when they've seen the need for structural family. And one of the clients earlier was saying that she had a mother who had 5 kids in elementary school, single mom, and she had 5 kids in elementary school. And defects have been called several times because the children kept coming to school with bruises. And she didn't do it. It was the fact that they were fighting each other, but she still wasn't parenting. So in a family system, if that continues, if those children keep fighting each other and coming to school with bruises, that family, as we know it, will go away, right? That is entropy. The family will die. Eventually, defects will take the children away, will farm them out to other people, and that system will die. That's ENTREHPOY. That is entropy. Of course, our job is to stop that. Our job is to make sure that that doesn't happen. So we put in services in the home, and most often that's what we want defects to do as well, right? We're not trying to split up families. We want someone from Child and Family Services to come in and recognize the needs and put some systems in place. Mom needs parenting, right? If I've got, I've got a great job and I'm educated. I would die with 5 kids all in elementary school at the same time. Oh my gosh. So entropy is dying. Negative entropy is what we do. We come in and we negate the dying process. So that is part of systems theory, to stop the dying process. The other terms you'll see, so input from the environment, that was like dad's job, that was the church, that was the school, that comes in the system. It's called throughput once it's inside the system. That's the energy that helps the system grow. And then as it grows, you can put out to the next system. Right. So dad hangs out with his buddies and he has a really good weekend, and he comes home and he comes home and he has a good time with his family. He goes back to work on Monday with this great new energy because systems theory says the system puts out and goes to the next system. Should dad decide he's going to drink more than work, that's when the system would fall apart. So what we know is then when it comes to this theory, this is how systems theory started. It broke off into 2 schools. And we're going to see many times the same verbiage, but that's where we get confused with structural and strategic and Bowen. We also might see satir. Does anybody familiar with any of the language that belongs to structural family therapy or where that came from? Of course. Structural is Minuchin.
Yeah.
Come on, tell me more. Well, tell me about
No,
him.
I was just gonna say it's from Minuchin. So like that's where the subsystems are, like I think enmeshment, disengagement. Yeah.
Absolutely. Some of the problems you'll see is we'll see some of the verbiage in both. But the bottom line is no matter what I'm doing, I remember that the structure are families that are tore up from the floor up. They have no rules, no boundaries, no hierarchies. Okay. Have you worked or lived or known families that didn't have any rules? Do share. Because remember, we're trying to make it personal, not trying to memorize it. In one of my videos, I always share, my children are grown, my My youngest one, um, she had a friend, and every morning I would take her to school, they would stop, and every morning her and her brother got like 7-Eleven, like donuts and coffee and slushies, like every morning for breakfast. And she would see them every morning on the way to school, and that's what they would have. And she would, I guess, after school, they would stop and get like pizza or popcorn. And my daughter thought I was the worst mother in the world because I didn't do that every day. So I let her stay there one weekend because she was so convinced that I was the worst mother ever. And again, so this was a single mom. The dad worked out of town. I think they were about 12. Her brother might have been 14, 15. Uh, mom, mom dropped them off at home, and she did whatever she did all night long. And for the weekend, mom wasn't around. They had popcorn, and dad was in that weekend. He brought donuts, he brought all these things. They did whatever they wanted to do. My daughter came home, and she was so sick that weekend. Um, I had to show her that. You know what? I swear, I'm a good mother. I really am. But they did whatever they wanted to do, and they were 12 and 13. And the brother, mom had gone away because dad was supposed to come back in town. Dad came in town, but he didn't stay. Those are families that have no structure. So whether they're poor families or wealthy families, we see it the same way, that mom and dad somehow forget they're supposed to parent. Somebody else tell me a client that you worked with. Come on, y'all been in the field for half a minute except for Clinique. Come on, Jasmine. I know all your families are perfect and sweet and they never do anything wrong, but let's pretend.
I'm trying to think. I used to work for a mental health clinic, and I used to do home visits, and this girl was always home by herself. Like her family's not by herself; they would be at work. I think the mom was there. But anywho, she would tell me about how her weekend was. Like they just kind of let her do whatever. So I don't know if that's considered like no boundaries.
So who was in
just
charge?
she was.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what if there was a fire? Like what would happen?
She had to put it out. I don't know.
So I mean that's really what we mean. So for
Yeah.
the test, we usually say 12 and under is a minor, and that's usually a
Yeah.
state thing in general. But families again that have no rules or have no boundaries. I talk about the Duggars most often, the 17 kids and counting, when I talk about enmeshed families. When the Duggars first came on, they were all J. Duggar girls and J. Duggar boys. They didn't have their own clear personality. They all played the violin. They all dressed alike. They weren't their own people. And not only were they not their own people, then when I was 12, I was making tater tot casserole for the other kids. Like I didn't have them kids. Like why am I raising those children? Right. So we see that often, don't we? We see that the older siblings come home from school and take care of younger siblings. And I know that's very much a cultural in lots of our history. But again, I didn't raise those. I didn't have those children, did I? So we see kids who are now 12 and 13 that don't get to grow up because the boundaries aren't clear, that somehow now I'm the parent raising these children. So clear boundaries are, I had these children, I'm the adult. And my children are my son is 12 years older than his youngest sister. Did he watch her? He sure did. Did I pay him? Yes, I did. That was his job sometimes because he didn't choose to have a child. I did. And I know, especially in our African American and our Hispanic culture, we blend together. No, baby, no, we passed that. Mom and daddy, you raised them kids. Ain't all of us working out in the field no more. No, right? Mom at the club. No, 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 no. You had those children. You raised those children. Boundaries should be very, very clear. We know in enmeshed families where it's not clear, where I begin and you end, and especially when they're closed systems, we see a much higher increase in incest. When we talk about the Duggar family, we know that all 17 of those kids, They never got to go anyplace individually. They all were a family. So if I'm 17, if I'm 13, 14 and going through puberty and the only girls I ever see are my sisters, are we surprised that there's incest? So a lot of our families that have poor boundaries are also closed families because they don't want anyone to know what's going on. Our disengaged families, I always talk about the Columbine murders. That was one of our very first school shootings. That's the one where they were out in the garage making the bomb, and mom said she didn't know. Right? That's what we see now quite often as well, where mom really isn't, or parents aren't paying attention to what their children are doing. The goal is if I'm out there, if you're at my house, I'm be taking some Twinkies out there, some pizza rolls, some something, right? Because it's our job to raise our kids. So disengaged means that they are clear, that I can't see them. Okay, so enmeshed is that they're too enmeshed. They're just awful, gross, and unclear. Our goal is to join in the family and to rock their homeostasis. Homeostasis is the norm. With the families that we work with, the assumption is their homeostasis isn't healthy. We could like to pretend that our homeostasis is healthy, right? Is all of our homeostasis healthy? Yeah, we all eat 5 fruits and vegetables every day, and we exercise and we drink water. Right. We healthy. We so the goal is the families we work with though is their routine is not healthy, and they often don't see it's unhealthy because that's their norm. Right? Kids don't know that the other families behave differently until they see other families or somebody steps in. So when I know it's structure, I'm looking for joining, setting up boundaries. The word enactments, you'll see that you'll ask many times. They'll ask the therapist will ask the family to enact what happened last night at home, so I can see what happened. And then we also see mimesis. Mimesis is the term that means mimicking. What the therapist does is they mimic the family, not making fun of them, but just mimicking their behaviors because there's something unconscious that we like people that are like us. So that's one of the things that we'll see. Strategic are now they're the families that are not so tore up. They're the people that have really poor communication skills. With strategic family therapy, I'm looking for the paradox, prescribing the symptom. Many times it's that reverse psychology. So we have given the parents or we've given the family several things to try, several interventions to try, and they've done nothing. So finally, we tell them to do the opposite. Right? Anybody ever get in trouble for smoke when you were a kid and your mother made you go home and smoke a whole pack of cigarettes? That's the paradox. Okay, prescribing the symptom, they're all the same thing. So the goal with that, when you use that, it's because you've tried other interventions first. So I'm working with a couple and I've said to the couple, I want you to use bibliotherapy. What does that mean? What's bibliotherapy?
Use books.
With a
Read a
book.
book. Read a book. Absolutely. Test question. One of the most common books that we use still in couples therapy is The Four Horsemen. Okay. The Four Horsemen is by Gottman, him and his wife. So and usually you'll see these. So criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling are the apocalypse. Those are the 4 things that break down families. So what we do is what they said is this, we're going to teach families, teach couples to do things differently. So instead of using criticism, instead of verbally attacking your partner, we're going to talk about using a gentle startup. Contempt, that's just taking that knife and twisting it like, ah. So we don't do that with people that we love. Defensiveness, it wasn't me. And of course, stonewalling, that's when they just refuse to talk about it. So you'll usually see one of these on the test about knowing the 4 horsemen. And that's the Gottman model. And bibliotherapy is having them read the book. I'm old. I used to have couples read Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. That's how old I am. We've also used the love language. That was important bibliotherapy for a while. Okay, so it's also usually associated with CBT. because CBT is where we give homework and we're trying to change your cognitions. So those are some of the one of the things I might use before I use the paradox. I might also encourage that they use I statements. What does that mean?
I
What are
feel
I statements?
I feel sad when you don't acknowledge that I got my hair done.
Okay, so I and you behave. So I feel a certain way when you do this. We use those as opposed to you statements, because you statements, people get defensive. You did that. You did this. You always do this, right? Then your partner gets defensive. So I statements are another way of communication with couples. So now we told them to do bibliotherapy. We told them to read the book. We told them to start using I statements. And now we're in like session 6 and they have not made any changes. That's when we're going to use the paradox. That's when you'll have them go home and yell at each other for 2 hours as loud as you can between 4 and 6 every single day. The goal is to exaggerate the problem because I've given you all these solutions and you haven't tried anything. So obviously you must like it the way it is. So the goal of the paradox is to let clients know either do it or get off the pot, right? Either you want to make a change or you don't. Of course, we don't ever use with anybody suicidal, right? Go ahead and kill yourself. Come on, don't ever do that. But that's when we use the paradox. We've already tried other interventions. One of the common other terms that you'll see that double bind. Double bind are mixed messages. Can someone give me an example of what that might mean or look like?
Isn't that like a no-win situation?
Sure, give me an example.
With families or couples or
Anywhere, I'm open.
could it be like if a wife always says she's tired, she doesn't want to have sex, but she is flirty with her husband and does things, and then when he's interested, she says, "Back off, I don't really want to have sex." Could it be something like that?
It could be, but ooh, she's just gonna be dead. She's just gonna be she's gonna find her body one day like choked out. But most definitely, you're giving me mixed messages. Absolutely, absolutely. That'd be so dangerous, though. But so I would say more like the husband says we never have sex, or the wife says we never have sex, and then he goes to make a move, and she says, "Oh no, I've got a headache." Like what? Like we never have sex. You want to have sex, but then it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't match. So it's when I'm saying something, but my body is doing something else. When a wife complains, you never bring me flowers, you never bring me gifts, and he brings flowers. She's like, we can't afford that. That's a double bind with children, especially, right? I tell the child, blah blah blah, and then I don't do it. You tell your child that college is very important, and then when it's time to go to college, you don't want to fill out the FAFSA. Government ain't getting my information, right? That's the double bind. So that makes families crazy. That makes kids crazy. So the goal of that is to teach families to communicate clearly. And then we have a first and second order changes. Have we seen those? We can't get to a second order change until we go through a first order change. And a first order change is fake. Okay? We're asking families to go through the motions before to go through the motions, to fake it until you make it. So again, these are strategic family theory terms. So a first order change, you've got the same story I always use. You've got a father, he's remarried, and the stepson. and the stepson does not like the new wife, and the stepson is always complaining to the father, blah, blah, blah. She did that, she did this, blah, blah, blah. What I want the stepmother to do is to then, every day that kid gets off the bus, I want you to bring him milk and cookies and smile. I don't care what he says. I don't care how mean he is. Don't say anything back. Bring him milk and cookies and smile. Does she want to do that? She can't stand that kid, right? He's got running his mouth, and she's bringing milk and cookies and smiling. The goal of that is that if I can teach mom to just keep her mouth shut for a little bit, eventually the boy will have nothing to complain about to dad. Right? She didn't do anything. He'll have nothing to complain about. That'll change the whole balance of the marriage. It'll change the balance of everything. So while she's faking it to begin with, eventually the thought is it'll be a real change because the boy will stop complaining. Dad will stop complaining about the wife. And then we can discuss real issues that are maybe causing problems. So first order changes are called superficial. Second order changes are the real changes, but I can't get to the second order until I go through the first order. Does that make sense? How are you, Morgan?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I am good. I'll remind you that your camera has to be on at all times. If it's not on, I boop you out. So you're more than welcome to watch the video. If you can't be in group during group time, you'll get the video anyway. But when you're in group, the camera has to be on, and you have to participate.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm that mean teacher. So, okay, but nice to see you. Okay, so we went over our strategic and our structural. The biggest words that come from almost always come from Bowen. Bowen is my genogram. He's the one that we did all that semester learning the terms. The goal of the genogram is to put all your family stuff on paper. That's really the goal. Your teacher made you go back 3 generations, and you're looking for patterns. We're looking for patterns that we continue to pass down and down and down. So our goal with our genogram, and do you remember, again, your teacher making you do one? For some of you, it was last year. Some of you, it was a million years ago. The goal, though, is really to look at patterns. And remember, Bowen wrote this. All of our theories are based on, upper class, old white men. So there were no divorced families. There were no stepchildren. There was no any of those play cousins. His daddy, we didn't have that. The goal is that we continue. He wants us to stop repeating the same patterns just because. So the words he used, I'll pull up I'll give you some more words for Bowen. He talked about differentiation, that most of us do exactly what our parents have always done forever. For the holidays, most of us did exactly what our parents have done. Okay, whether it was, great grandmother, whatever we do, we repeat the patterns. And he says, if we're going to repeat the patterns, at least know why we do it. And then let's differentiate. If we're going to do it, at least know why. So there's a whole list of Bowen terms. And again, you'll get this paper when we're done. I'll give you most of them, but you're really not going to see all of these. He talks about sibling position, but whenever you see siblings on the test, that's always going to be Adler. We really don't give Bowen enough credit. We don't give Bowen credit for sibling theory. So, like I said, differentiation of self, the ability to balance emotional and intellectual functioning, To think and act for yourselves while maintaining emotional connection with others. That's your family, your mama and them, your peoples. Low differentiation equals high fusion. Mnuchin used the word enmeshed, right? Where I'm not sure where I began and you end. Bowen used the word fused. Okay, so we're all one big old nasty mess. So the less differentiated I am, the more fused I am with my family. So I grew up in a very, very meshed family. I'm sorry, very much fused family. I grew up on family property. So it was Sam Tillery Lane, and my great grandmother lived at the bottom of the street, and my grandmother lived a couple of houses up. My mother was the first child, so my dad, Lord knows that somebody should warn that man, built a house like right on the same family property. My mother was the oldest, and now she had 6 sisters. So then everybody built or had a couple of trailers, and we all lived on the same street. Ah! I'm talking about sick. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, so and I tell a story. I tell a story in my videos. My family doesn't watch them, thank God. Was when I was 11 or 12. My grandmother lifts my shirt and she says, "Oh, you're getting boobies." And I'm the oldest grandchild, and all of my uncles and aunts and cousins are sitting on under the tree because that's what you do on the Sunday afternoon. And my mother didn't even flinch. Like that's just what we did. Not with my kids, you're not. We were not carrying on that tradition with my children. But it literally was. And again, coming from an African American family where, we talk about working together and needing to be together from history, that was something that was very much needed in most marginalized or minority families. You had to live together to survive, you had to work together to survive. But at some point, that becomes unhealthy. And literally, I'm the first person that moved away. My mother died. That made it a lot easier. My mother died, and then I had a reason to never come back. But until recently, everybody lived the same way. I've got 3 aunties that are retired, and they all now still live in the same retirement home, just different floors from each other. And again, the problem with that is it doesn't allow for any outside influence. So no other friends other than family. That's not healthy. Right? So now we all think alike, we all sound alike, we all do the same things, and that's not healthy. And my family does a lot of things, but no one's gone to jail recently. But in general, you work with families that do the exact same thing, right? You work with poor families. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this story that we got drunk and Santa forgot to come. Right? Mom and dad are doing drugs and alcohol, and their parents did it, and their parents did it, and they think it's still funny. Like, what is wrong with you? So we really pass things on and on and on. And Bowen says that that's unhealthy. Okay. So our goal is if you choose to do the same things that your parents have done, at least then it's your own choice. You've differentiated your thoughts and your emotions from your family. He used the word triangles. He said that you're not really a unit until you're a triangle. So that means there needs to be at least 3 people to be a family unit. But then he uses the word triangulation. So what is triangulation and what's wrong with that?
Think that's when 2 family members come against the other one.
Okay. It can be. It definitely can be. Morgan, you want to share?
I was gonna say it's like kind of like all 3 people are arguing at the same time, but it's kind of just keep going all around and like it just like one person will tell the next person, that person tells the next person.
That can be it too. The problem is 2 people need to learn to communicate. And what happens is a third person is either brought in or comes in and makes it even worse. So mom and dad may be going through a divorce and little Bobby starts acting out at school. So now mom and dad have stopped fighting and they're focusing on little Bobby. That didn't stop the problem between mom and dad. All that did was change it for a little bit. So triangulation is not healthy. It's when three people. So husband and wife are married, and she calls her mama. Right? Mama don't need to be in this. Don't call your mama. Just don't call your mama, because you going to forgive that man and your mama's not. Just so you know, okay? I don't care. I don't care if you live happily ever after. I remember when you hurt my daughter 3 years ago. Just don't tell your mama. Don't tell your mama. So triangulation is when a third person is brought in to they're trying to appease the relationship, but it makes it worse. In couples therapy, if a therapist picks a side, that's still triangulation, because now the couple still hasn't learned to communicate. So it's the goal is, so triangulation reduces anxiety but stabilizes dysfunction. By that third person comes in, it fixes it for right now, but I still haven't learned to communicate with my spouse or with my child or whoever. So triangulation is not a good thing. We try to de-triangulate. That's part of an intervention social workers would do. The nuclear family emotional system, patterns of emotional functioning within the immediate family. Again, so the nuclear family is the that would be like the mom and dad or the people that started it, and then we keep passing all of that down. One of the things, so what is the term projection? What's that one mean? It's a defense mechanism.
When you
Morgan,
push your own feelings onto someone else.
Got it. Feelings about yourself that you don't like. Okay, so things about myself that I don't like that I push on to you. Now, the family projection process, parents transmit their emotional problems to a child, creating vulnerabilities in the child's functioning and development. What that means is I push off my stuff that I don't like onto me, I don't like, and I put it down on every other generation. I ain't never got married, and I got 3 baby daddies. Why you gotta get married? That's what that means, right? We project our stuff that we don't like onto future generations. So if we go back, and we can always talk about that, Freud says it's unconscious process, but that's what we do. So that's what, according to Bowen, says, that we keep passing those things down and down and down. So when a child wants to get married, well, no, we ain't never got married. Why would you do that? We never got divorced. So what, to beat your ass? Why would you do that? Those are things that we pass down in families and families and families. So our goal of, when we're understanding Bowen, is we really try to get at the differentiation level to help people realize that you don't have to do it just because mom and them did it. And it really is a very difficult thing to do, especially if you've grown up in a family where everybody does what they're supposed to do or to fit in. It's hard if you choose to emotional cut off. And that's what he says. That's when you're going to make a decision that it's not that I'm not going to talk to you, but I'm not going to get involved in the emotional mess. He says that moving away is not simple enough. Sometimes we think we move away and it stops. I can promise you, I've moved away. When I go home for a funeral, it's the same thing. I want to scream. I can stay in town long enough for the funeral. That's about it. Because you know what so-and-so did? Girl, let me tell you. I have 4 aunties, and they have nothing else better to do all day, every day, but talk about each other. I swear. And they get up and get dressed, and they're beautiful every day. Them wigs be on straight, makeup ain't going nowhere. The highlight is to play spades of the day. So definitely, and I give it to my first cousin because she stayed, and she's the one that really has been able to have her own life and still live in the same city. And I'm so impressed with her. I always make the joke about the cousin that brought broccoli to the Thanksgiving dinner. And she's my first cousin, and she again, is Thanksgiving. Everybody does the same thing they always do. Maybe people have diabetes and blood sugar and blah blah blah, and she chose to live in the same city and raise her children there, but not be a part of it. So literally, she's the one that brings broccoli. She brings something healthy every year to Thanksgiving. They still laugh at her. Nobody ever eats it but her. But it's still, I gotta give it to her. I just don't show up. I go, I can't do you people.
So Dr. Pam,
Yes,
so then so would your cousin be considered differentiated?
most definitely. Most definitely. And I've had the conversation. I don't know how she did it. My mother was the oldest. My mother died when I was 16. So it really made it a lot easier for me because I didn't have to, I know I wouldn't have done it if my mother hadn't died. But I went to school and they'll say I just never came back. I just couldn't do that. I just couldn't. Um, she, on the other hand, she's my mother's oldest sister, so she's 2 years younger than I am. And her mother had her when she was 15. So she was really raised by my grandmother and by my mother. So even more of this whole family mess and all the things that she does. She went away to school, but she decided to come back. But she does. I mean, when you come to her house, she sets the rules. She tells her mother, my other aunties, these are the rules at my house. So she's very much differentiated, emotional cutoff. She just doesn't play that game. She changed churches. Do you know in my family, I'm a preacher's child. We grew up good Southern Baptist, and she became an AME and a bishop at that. I'm like, girl, I give it to you. I could not have done that. I swear. No. She cheated. So most definitely, yeah, very much so. And I really don't know how, but yeah, very much, very much. Sibling and position, you won't really see, and societal, emotional, you won't see those. But fusion does mean the same thing as enmeshed. Be very careful, though. Fusion belongs to Bowen. Enmeshment belongs to Mnuchin. You might see satir. There are some words for satir. Most often, you're going to see those communication styles. Hey, we talk about the roles, the placater, the blamer, the super reasonable. You'll see most of those as well when it comes to those theorists. Again, the especially for my LCs, the other theorists that you'll see, remember, if you see narrative therapy talking about reauthoring your story, that's still going to be in a family setting. Solution focus, right? The miracle question, the accept question, the scaling technique. CBT is on both tests, my LM and my LC. So remember, CBT is you've got stinking thinking. So I can still use CBT in a family setting, a group setting, or an individual setting. So when we're looking at interventions and we talk about how we struggle with the interventions, it's really making sure we understand what CBT does, right? The way that you're thinking is just not correct. So what we do is we're going to Beck was very much, he said depression wasn't real. He said, that's the way that you think, right? So we're going to challenge those cognitive distortions, restructure your thoughts. Okay, so we're looking at the verbiage of the theorist. I said earlier, whenever you see CBT, you're most always going to see homework. That's one of the theorists that's known for giving homework. He's not the only one, but most definitely. Psychodynamic and object relations. So psychodynamic is Freud. Object relations is Margaret Mailer. Remember, Margaret Mailer says part of the problem is you never attach to begin with. She's the one that talks about the first 3 years of life. And if you didn't have that same caregiver the first 3 years of life, that you didn't grow up on, she's a neo-Freudian, so you didn't have that unconsciously, you never knew that you had a safe place to land. So that's Mailer. Okay. The rest of them I'll take off because those are more of my NCE people, not necessarily for my social work people. I will hold on. Feminist therapy you might see on both tests. Remember, in general, feminist therapy are not just for women anymore. It talks about not having power. Anyone that doesn't have power. So it talks about empowering our clients. In family therapy, A feminist therapy would probably have concerns because in traditional families, right, we say mom and dad are equal, right? But in traditional families, many times father's been first. So feminist therapy would not agree with that. They would have a definitely concern with that. Okie dokie. I'm going to give you this, and then I'll give you some questions as well. I'll put this in your chat box so you have it. And then we'll go over some questions. Those that have taken the test before, that have done practice questions, have you seen some questions on families, things that you want me to answer before I pull up some? I didn't throw in behavior of families, but I'll pull up some questions from that as well. Because remember, whenever I see a behaviorist, we know that we don't care how you feel, right? Behaviorists just care about changing the behavior with rewards and consequences. I'm going to put it in your chat box. You should be able to open it. Yeah. Nope. And you can use that, again, as a cheat sheet when I go over the questions. Okay, should be able to open that. Okay, so 1 second. Let me pull up some questions. Like every other theory we're learning, and whether it's a first, next, or whatever question, we still really have to learn who said what. And it's a reading test. It's still just a reading test. We're always looking at, going back to the question. I didn't teach you the term positive and negative feedback loops. Have you seen those terms? Positive and negative feedback loops are, I'm sorry, let me just show you this first. So when we think about in general, remember positive and negative are never good and bad in our field. A positive feedback loop means I added something and that's going to change the situation or change the family. A negative feedback loop means I didn't do anything, so the homeostasis remains the same. Okay, so we want to change if we want to change anybody, we say something, right? If we're talking and you get a question wrong and I don't ever say anything, you'll never change because I didn't say anything. Positive feedback loops mean I added something and that causes families to change. Families like their homeostasis. We like our homeostasis. We like our norm. Right? Even if I eat ice cream right before I go to bed every night, I still like my norm. Okie dokie. Let's share my screen. Okay. Mastermind, take the person for me.
A clinical social worker meets with a family in which a 13-year-old routinely claims disputes between parents. During intake, the child speaks confidently while parents defer. The first systemic concern is, so you have,
Send.
understand the question?
Mm-hmm.
So you have a 13-year-old, you have a family and they come in and you have a 13-year-old and this is an intake and it seems like the child the child is confident in their speech while the parents like they're arguing. And the question want to know like what is the first concern, systemic concern?
So let me make it bigger. The social worker meets with a family with a 13-year-old, in which a 13-year-old routinely calms disputes between the parents.
Mhm.
Like, hey, I'm used to this. Okay. Oops. Okay, there we go. You see that? Is that big enough?
Yep, that's big enough.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's read all four. Yep.
The client's coping style. B, a cross-generational role distortion. C, low distress tolerance. D, parent-child attachment insecurity. So a clinical social worker meets with a family in which a 13-year-old routinely calms disputes between parents. During intake, the child speaks confidently while the parents defer. The first systemic concern is
What can I rule out? So what does the question ask me though? The first systemic concern. What does that mean?
I don't know.
So the goal is that the family is a system.
Okay.
So my first concern about this system is what?
Okay, so I can get rid of A. Distress tolerance. What did we say that was? I will get rid of B. I will pick C for the answer.
Prove it to me in the question.
Because the child is calm while there's a dispute.
So nothing else in the system matters? That question, just that?
Let's see. First,
So let's go back. It's a family question. The system is the whole family. So my concern is the way the whole family is operating.
Mm-hmm.
So in any system, who's in charge?
Parents.
Okay. Is that what's happening in this one?
No.
So what's my concern?
That the parents are arguing like they almost reverse roles.
So which one of those makes the most sense then?
The attachment insecurity.
Anybody else want to take a shot? What's cross generation mean?
Something that is like carried down from generations.
No, it just means I crossed the boundary. Like generation, this is my mother's generation, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I think that was not being afraid to not understanding what it meant and being afraid to go for that. It doesn't say anything that they're not attached to each other, does it? That would be like Margaret Mailer, who talked about insecure attachments. So cross-generational role distortion. The roles are messed up. Mom and daddy, you are supposed to be in charge. What is your kid doing calming you two down? Does that make sense?
It does.
So remember that the test is written at a very high vocabulary. So this is just a matter of really trying to understand what of the best of the four, what was the best answer. Do you guys struggle with that as well? Give her some support. Come on. They're like, no way. Give her some support. Come on.
I struggle with that.
That's the problem is if they just made it easy, then I'd understand. But the assumption is that you have a postmaster's level, you have a high vocabulary, and it doesn't give me the exact words that I'd like for it to say. Is that fair to say? And it just doesn't. It just doesn't. And a lot of that is because I've got to use higher order processing. Parent-child attachment insecurity would have been Margaret Mather. It would have talked about something in the question that I don't trust my spouse because I never had the same, the same caregiver, right? Borderlines come from Margaret Mather's insecurity. Okay. Jasmine, you want number 2? Well, yes, Dr. Pam, I'm so excited.
I am. Okay, a family requests strategies to stop the child's anxiety. Assessment reveals that anxiety spikes when parental conflict decreases. The most accurate conceptualization is that the symptom A
What the heck?
reflect. Okay.
No. We got to go back and understand what all them words mean.
Okay, so a family is coming to ask for strategies on how to stop the child's anxiety.
Okay, so let's stop there, right? I showed up,
Okay.
but I brought this little kid. I'm like, little Johnny's got anxiety. Can you please help give me some strategies to fix his little anxiety? Okay, what happens next?
And then the assessment reveals that anxiety spikes when parental conflict decreases. So the child has more anxiety when the parents are not fighting or not in conflict.
Yeah. So when things are good, the child has more anxiety?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now the most accurate conceptualization is that the symptom. So that's the tricky part.
Okay.
The most accurate. I guess they're saying.
So a case conceptualization is just looking at the whole case and thinking, what could this mean? Okay, so case conceptualization, most often what happens is once I've done my intake and I've got some kind of assessment tool, and now I'm looking at the whole case and I'm trying to get a big picture of what's happening. That's called case conceptualization. Okay. So then,
A reflects unresolved trauma. B regulates systemic tension. C is developmentally normative. And D indicates poor emotion regulation. Okay. So looking at this.
So I'm gonna stay in the question a lot. Okay. So my anxiety spikes when my parents' conflict decreases. What does that tell you about? Give me an idea of what that tells you.
It means that to me, it's like the child is like okay when they are in conflict. Like that's a norm, maybe. But when
it is, right?
Yeah.
So when things are quiet, I'm worried. Okay, so yeah, so that I'm used to them fighting, and now when they're quiet, I'm like, ooh, what's happening here? Okay, so now.
Okay, so to do process of elimination, I'm going to take out. Let's take out C. Because they're saying like the child is normal, developmentally normal, which is not right. Okay. Regulates systemic tension. Indicates poor emotion regulation. Reflects unresolved trauma. torn between which one to take out next.
So, okay, let's go back. Remember, we
Mhm.
don't ever believe in an IP. The whole family is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my answer needs to be directive toward the
About
whole
the family.
family.
Yeah. Okay. We'll take out D. Regulate systemic tension. Would the answer be B?
It would be. It would be. It would be. It would be. Okay. So the system when homeostasis is our norm. So he's used to the fighting. So when the fighting stops, then he does something to take us back to the norm. We've seen questions like that where dad was an alcoholic and dad stops drinking, and now the child begins to use drugs. Right? Because he's trying to take them back to their norm where there's always tension in the air. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Could they have said that easier? Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but so you said that before. He's used to them fighting. That's their homeostasis. Monique?
During early sessions, the social worker deliberately mirrors the family's communication, pace, and affect. The primary clinical purpose of the stance is to.
I gave you that word earlier. Do you remember?
Yes. Was it paradoxical
It's
or
structural family therapy. When he joins the family,
joins?
he
Okay.
also mimics their behavior. That term is called mimesis.
Okay. The primary clinical purpose of the stance is to reduce resistance through neutrality, gain influence within the system, establish emotional differentiation, encourage insight development. If he's mimicking them, I'm gonna take out C because he's
That's
not
my
trying.
answer.
Oh,
Remember?
please explain that to me.
To pull up the document. I think I wrote that on that. I'll open it. So he joins the family in Mnuchin by mimicking their behavior, not making fun of them. He's trying to bond with them. So we like people that are like us. It's an unconscious thing. I mean, I might not have said this because I thought this thing like 14 times this weekend alone. So Tony Robinson uses that same concept. He says when you're interviewing for a job, if your interviewer leans in, you should lean in too. If they lean back, you lean back as well. It's not making fun of them. It's unconsciously that I like people that are like me. So the term that structural uses is mimesis. So this is the term they're talking about, and this is what we. So C is out. So definitely, C is not my answer. Mimesis is a good thing. I'm trying to.
Okay, so
Okay.
yeah, I was
Yes.
taking C
Okay.
out. Okay, so I do
Okay.
take C out.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. Ooh, which one do I take out next? Reduce resistance through neutrality, gain influence within the system, encourage.
Whenever we see insight, who does that almost always belong to? What theory? Anybody?
Is it Freud?
Almost always Freud. Freud is the only one that wants us to look inside ourselves or see what happened when you're unconscious. Most other interventions, we don't have time for insight, right? So whenever I see insight, that's a clue that that's a Freudian answer.
And that's not a family.
Well, he could be. He could be. Okay, but it doesn't say anything in the question to prove to me that's Freud. It literally says when they deliberately mirror the family's communication, pace, and affect. What's their affect clinic?
Uh, how they present.
The look on your face that should match your mood.
Okay, so
Okay, remember in an MSE, we always talk about the person, or if they have a blunt affect, right? So when I talked about double bind before, I say, yes, I love you. Do you believe me? That's my affect, the look on my face that should match my mood. AFFECT is often the same word as a mood.
okay.
Okay, that's a clinical term.
Then I'm down to 2. Reduce resistance through neutrality.
I'm gonna
Or
give you
gain.
another hint. Who does
Okay.
resistance belong to? That's always a Freudian term as well. Resistance is
Okay.
Freud. So all the defense mechanisms, insight, resistance, transference, countertransference, all of those things are Freudian things. So unless I see some about Freud in the question, I know that can't be my answer.
So it's B. I
It
wanted to
is.
pick B off the rip, but I knew I had to explain why I thought it was B.
So you still got to explain why. So why is it
Okay.
B?
Because if he's mimicking them and people like people who are like them, then he is gaining like trust and being able to talk to them and help with change of the system.
Absolutely. So he's really just trying to establish rapport.
Okay.
Okay. And that's one. And remember, with Mnuchin, in our families that are disengaged or enmeshed, remember, many times there's closed systems and it's harder to join the family. So by mimicking them, using the word mimesis, then it makes it easier to join the family, which is building rapport. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so again, the verbiage should feel like the same verbiage that you see on the test. You're like, what the heck are they talking about? So behind every question, there's theory. So when I talk about deliberately mirrors the family's communication, that's mimesis. That's what that term means. And for a lot of you that are struggling with interventions, that's the piece that you're missing, because if it doesn't say exactly what theory they're talking about, you don't really always know. Is that fair to say? Okay. Gloria?
Okay. A social worker notices that when one partner attempts to address conflict directly, the other immediately involves the child. The next intervention is to, okay, so the social worker is noticing that when one of the partners attempts to like talk about a conflict directly with the other partner, the other one involves the child. So what would the next intervention is to explore
So,
family of
What's happening in the question? Tell
there's
me in your
something
own
that
words, paraphrase.
there's something that the social worker is noticing when they're in therapy
What does she notice?
that when talking to one person instead of the other sitting there and having engaging in the communication with the other person, they immediately bring up a third person. They bring up
Which
a
is
child.
called, which is called,
Triangulation.
very good. So the question is asking me,
The next intervention is to,
how do I fix triangulation?
how do I fix triangulation?
Does that make sense? That's what the question is asking me. So I see what's happening in the question. Every time I ask when they bring in the third person, so now I can see it's triangulation in this family. So
Mm-hmm.
my intervention is what?
Okay.
Okay. Do you see why we spend so much time in the question? Because what the heck, if I don't get what they're asking me, I'm still struggling.
And triangulation came up in my head, and then when it said the next intervention, so I'm like, okay, do I answer this question like triangulation already happened, or
You
do I
do.
answer it? Okay.
Because that's what it says, right? I notice this happens. So now what do I do?
Okay. So the options are explore family of origin patterns, strengthen the parental subsystem, assign a paradoxical task, or increase emotional validation. Okay, I'm going to rule out D, increase emotional validation. I don't think there's anything to validate here emotionally. I'm going to cross out paradoxical task because there's no task to be done. In this moment with this situation, exploring family of origin patterns is not really going to help me address the involvement of the child of the triangulation. So I think I need to strengthen this parental subsystem because they should be a subsystem and not bring in the child.
Ding, ding, ding. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're going to swear up and down, I didn't have any triangulation on the test, Dr. Pam. You made me study all that stuff, and I didn't see triangulation one time. Okay, not you, but that's what you're all the time.
But this is a great example
That's
of,
exactly what
yeah.
happened, right? So,
Mhm.
so we've got to know the theories, really know, and then read the question, right? Because I didn't see Freud one time, Dr. Pam. You made me study all this stuff, and I never saw his name. Yes, you did. You just didn't realize you saw his theories. Morgan, I'll be so nice to you because it's your first time, and your mom is my friend. So. Actually, I'm retired, so it doesn't really matter. I'm joking. Go ahead, take this one for me.
Okay.
And you all have the cheat sheet, so didn't leave you guys hanging. I really did not. So go ahead.
A 10-year-old client attends a family therapy meeting with her adoptive parents. During the session, it reveals that one adoptive parent does not provide structure or consistency, whereas the other parent yells and demands obedience. This represents a dysfunctional. So the client is a 10-year-old and she's in family therapy with her adoptive parents, so that means she's in the foster system. Um, she's in the session and that she says that one parent um doesn't provide structure and consistency, and then the other parent is more aggressive and yells and demands obedience, and we're trying to look for the dysfunction, what kind of dysfunction it is.
Mm-hmm.
um
So what I hear happening are the two parents are not on the same page.
yes.
Okay. So then let's read all four.
A is coalition, B is hierarchy,
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna move down this way.
C is alliance, and D is feedback loop. So I would
We're gonna rule out.
rule out hierarchy.
That's my answer.
Oh, okay. Uh,
So if we go back to structural family therapy, and the key is they don't provide structure. That was a hint to know. But what's happening in this family is mom and dad are supposed to be at the top. The hierarchy are mom and dad, you're supposed to be on the same page and you're supposed to be in charge.
okay.
Okay. So coalitions and alliances are not good. What happens many times in families, let's say, especially if dad's an alcoholic. So what happens is mom and the children join an alliance against dad. So instead of it being mom and dad at the top, it's mom and the children, and mom's really keeping things running because dad's an alcoholic.
Okay.
So alliances are for your test, you don't need to know the difference, but knowing that the boundaries are not okay. So an alliance or a coalition is not okay.
Okay.
Okay. And feedback loops, remember, positive feedback loops bring change. I've added information. Negative feedback loops do not.
Okay.
Okay. Try again.
Okay. The parent of a 27-year-old client diagnosed with substance use disorder frequently bail the client out of jail, and the mother blames her ex-husband, the father, for the daughter's problems. This keeps the family system in a state of equilibrium through the process of. Um, So there's parents and they have a daughter who is a 27-year-old with a substance use disorder who they constantly have to kind of get out of jail. And the mom blames her ex-husband for this issue, which
Mm-hmm.
it's asking us what state of equilibrium through the process they're in.
Got it, got it.
So A is triangulation, B assimilation, C parentification, or D centration.
What can I rule out?
Um parenti par parentification.
Mhm. What does that mean, somebody? Gloria, what does that mean?
When you parentify a child, their
Hmm.
role is more of a parent than a child.
Absolutely. So that is when the child doesn't get to be the child. So parentification is making a child an adult when they shouldn't have to be. Absolutely. Okay. What else can you take out? Thank you, Gloria. Hun. I just knew you knew that.
Yeah.
The next one I would rule out is um D. Cent
Boy?
centro
Oh, D. Centration. Do you know what that one means?
I do not. So that was
Anybody else know? It's a Piaget term. When children are little, they're only able to concentrate on one thing at a time. We talk about egocentrism. My ego is the center of the universe. Ethnocentrism is my ethnicity is the center of the universe. Centration is when children are little and they can only focus on one thing. My son is 33, and I still tell this story. When one of the first times we took him to the zoo, there was a grasshopper that was like this big, but it was on the eye level that he could see. And there's like a giraffe, and there's all this big stuff, and all he sees is the grasshopper because that's what his eye level. So centration, our little kids can't focus. They get caught focusing on just one little thing, and that's a Piaget term. Okay, so now you're between A and B.
Yes. So I'm kind of confused about them because I know assimilation, it's like uh kind of you're adopting traits, I think, of somebody else.
Um, so it could be in culture. Assimilation means that I've given up my culture and now I act like more American.
Mm,
And in Piaget in human development, he talks about when children can't accommodate yet, they see a fat woman and they say, "Oh, that's a whale." That's usually a question on my video because it looks the same to them. As children get older, then they accommodate. They make room in their schema for new information. But I don't think either one of those definitions would fit this answer.
okay, so I would say the final answer is A because it is the triangulation, kind of the three different people.
So what's happening in the question? Tell me to prove it to me. What words?
So there's the mother, the ex-husband, and then the daughter. And so the daughter is the one doing like has the substance use disorder and get going in and out of jail, but then the mom is blaming the ex-husband. And then
Mhm.
they're all in it together because they're both getting her out of jail.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okie dokie. Very good. Very good. Everybody good with that one?
Dr. Pam, I have a question going back to the one that had the feedback loops.
Uh-huh.
So mm, I know there's positive and negative feedback back loops, but if a question did have that as the right answer, it's just going to say
It
feedback
wouldn't
loop.
be. It wouldn't be.
Okay.
That's a hint right there that it doesn't give me whether it's a positive or negative.
Ah, got it.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So, yeah, well, no. I take that back. It could be. Um, so we use it in families, that we use it in everything. A feedback loop could be used in an agency. Why do we have feedback loops? Because I need someone to tell me if my business isn't working. So you might see it, and it doesn't necessarily just mean in a family. Feedback is any, we all want feedback, right? So if I'm running an agency, and we do client surveys, that's still a feedback loop, how we behave on those client surveys. So you might. I'm going to go back to you, Mastermind.
The Smith family presents for therapy because of problems with their teenage son, Matt, whose behavior causes anxiety in his mother. His sister, Amelia, often answers for him, and his father distracts his mother. An extended family systems therapist would say this family has. So you have a family. Um, the son looks like he's causing the mom to have anxiety. Sister answers for the brother, and the father distracts the mother. And they want to know, what would extended family therapists say that the family has. So we have A, permeable boundaries, rigid boundaries, undifferentiated family ego mass, a high level of differentiation. Well, I know it's not D. Um, and can you explain permeable boundaries?
I can. So, in our structured system, we want very clear boundaries that some things can get through, but not everything. Okay, so a closed system, the boundaries are closed and nothing can get in. An open system is like leaving your front door open. Everybody has to get to come and go as they please, right? In my house. So permeable or semi-permeable is a good thing. That means the appropriate things get through, but not everything gets through.
Oh, okay, so A can go.
Okay. So now I'm down to two. So let's go back and understand the question.
Okay. Smith family presents for therapy because of problems with their teenage son, Matt, whose behavior causes anxiety in his mother. His sister, Amelia, often answers for him, and his father distracts his mother. An extended family systems therapist would say that
Who's
was
that? Who's that? Who's that?
extended family systems therapist is Bowen.
Very good. That's your key in the question.
And so if it's Bowen, then the answer is C. And
Very good. Very good. Very good. Did you pick up that the first time that it was Bowen? They were dropping hints?
no, not until I went back and read it.
Oh, you're suggesting that you just went over the hint in the question?
I'm,
They just threw it. They just put that out there just because.
I'm suggesting that this is a reading test.
Oh, okay. Just making sure because they told you, Linda. So an extended family, that still means it still does multi-generational. That was the clue in the question. So the only two that belong to Bowen would have been C and D. And again, D is good thing, right?
Yes, it is.
Did everybody pick that up? Of course we did, because we can read. No, you didn't.
What do they mean by family ego mass?
That's what he calls it. He says that I say mess, but he says all three generations, y'all are just one big old nasty thought and feeling. Y'all all the same. Ain't nobody thought nothing different. Ain't nobody brought no broccoli to the Thanksgiving dinner because y'all gonna bring everything nasty. I say mess, but he says mass. This whole family is just one big old, and I'm not going to eat them with her nap, but undifferentiated means you all believe the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, have you ever dated the guy where everybody's in that undifferentiated ego mass? They all believe, like they all drank the Kool-Aid. And you're like, oh my God, what's wrong with you people? Like, ah,
Mm.
okay, that's just me. Like, okay, that's just me. But you've met the family with the cousins, and they look alike, they sound alike. You're like,
Yeah.
okay. Well, again, why I'm single. So yeah, so he uses math. So we're all of the same thought, the same mind, the same belief system. You I live in the South, okay? So Sunday after church, I don't know if you have a Golden Corral like the buffet
Yes.
places. And you can just tell they look alike, like they all like
Yep.
maybe all little inbreds or something. I'm sorry, that's so mean. Okay. Okay, I apologize. It's late. My ADD medicine wears off. I don't know. Just somebody be different. Okay, I know that didn't happen in California, St. Gloria, but in the South, it does. Jasmine.
Okay. A social worker assigns a couple to argue only during a 10-minute window each evening. This intervention is best understood as C.
Well, very good. Very good. Not how I like you to answer the questions. Very good. Okay, we're going to take you up a notch then.
Okay. That's prescribing the symptom.
That is exactly it. That's
Mhm.
exactly it. What is D?
Cognitive restructuring. Is that like when the therapist asks them to rethink
Yeah, that's
their thoughts,
CBT.
or
That's CBT, right? You've got stinking thinking, so we're going to change the
stinking
way that you
thinking.
think. Take that one too.
Okay. A
You smarty
clinician
pants.
a clinician assigns a resistant adolescent responsibility for initiating a change related task. This strategy most directly addresses. Okay, so a clinician assigns a resistant adolescent responsibility for initiating change related tasks. The strategy is most directly addresses.
Tell me in your own words what's happening in the question.
The client is tasking the adolescent who's resistant the task of like starting change related, like creating change related tasks.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So this strategy most directly addresses A, insight deficits, B, resistance patterns, C, attachment disruption, D, hierarchical confusion. Okay, so
So I'm going to stay in my question, okay? So my resistant adolescent, right? So that means I probably said to the family, let's make some changes, right? And my little teenager said, I ain't doing that crap. So the therapist says, fine, then you start the changes.
Mhm.
So what could that be considered?
Okay, I'll take out D.
No,
No? Okay.
it's not insight deficit, right? It's not having him see anything on better. So we're not saying that. So why did I do that? The strategy most directly addresses what? The answer is D. He's the kid. He should have been told, he was told what to do and he didn't do it. So now I'm trying to rock the boat.
That was tough.
Where were you going?
I honestly don't know. At first I was thinking B, but I was like maybe to address the resistance since the child is resistant, but I was like, that might be too easy.
But I gave him the responsibility of changing.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like it's probably a paradoxical approach, right? Because a clinician assigns a resistant adolescent. So I probably gave the family something to do already, but the adolescent said, I ain't doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So then I change. I say, fine, then you are responsible for initiating the change. So I gave him the power. I rock the boat. The hierarchy is mom and dad were in charge. So now I just changed it. So that's another term for the paradox.
Okay.
Don't get scared when you don't know words. Don't do that. Attachment, right? The attachment belongs to Margaret Mather. It talks about I didn't have the same caregiver the first 3 years of life. And yes, it does say resistance in the question, but that doesn't address what's going on. I gave him the assignment of changing the family. And that's the opposite because mom and dad should be in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your fight or flight. If you don't know, you just guess. Most of us do. That's fight or flight. Instead of figuring out, we just guess. And we're not going to do that. We're going to fight the fear and figure out there's not one word on here that you don't know. Now put together that might have confused you, but you've got a master's degree. They didn't just give it to you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be scared. It is. It is. When we don't know the words, we freak out.
Yeah.
And we know enough to put words together to know what they mean. It's okay. Clinique?
Mary feels threatened by the arrival of her baby sister, so she pouts and becomes temperamental. When Mary acts out this way, her father thinks she is regressing and tries to get her to act her age by punishing and criticizing her. Father's harshness confirms Mary's belief that her sister is displacing her. The therapist suggests that when Mary behaves this way, the father should ignore her. If this suggestion worked, it would be a good example of. So we have a kid who is about to have a younger sibling coming. She feels threatened by the unborn baby. And the father feels like she's regressing, trying to act like a baby so that she can get attention, I'm assuming. But I know we don't assume, we don't add words. But he's punishing and criticizing her, which is also not good. So the therapist says to ignore her. And if it worked, it would be an example of a positive
Go back
feedback.
to that question and take out all your little judgment. She was all up in how they was behaving and they was doing this wrong and they was doing that wrong. Let's read this question without your little opinion, okay?
Okay, I will take my opinions out.
Exactly. I don't see your name in there. We don't care what you think. Let's try that again.
So we have an older sibling who is about to is a baby about to be born. The child is starting to pout and becomes temperamental. And when Mary acts like that, her father thinks she is regressing and tries to get her to act her age. He tries to get her to act her age by punishing her and criticizing her.
Those are just the facts. We're not saying he did right or wrong. Those are just the facts, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. And then the his harshness confirms Mary's belief that her sister is displacing her. And then the therapist suggests that when Mary behaves this way, that the father should ignore her. Hmm. So if it worked, it would be a good example of a positive feedback.
Okay, so hold on. What did the therapist say? What does the therapist suggest? I'll make sure we
She
understand.
su- she suggests that he ignores her behavior when she pouts and becomes temperamental.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so it would be an example of A, positive feedback, B, first order change, C, second order change, or D, negative feedback. So I'm going to take out second order change. And I'm going to take out positive feedback.
So now you're between B and D. Where are you going?
Okay. I am going to go.
You're going to go back to the question.
Yes, I'm going to go back to the question. And if he ignored her, is it negative feedback? Because positive and negative, we're not adding or taking away anything.
Well, let's go back to the question. The
Okay.
therapist suggests that when Mary behaves, the father behaves this way, the father should ignore her. What's the overall goal of the therapist?
Help the father deal with Mary's behavior.
Okay, so he should ignore her forever?
Oh no, it's the first order change because first order changes are fake. Because
But
he's
what's
really not.
and what do I want to happen in the end? What do I want the second order change to be?
For her to act her age and welcome her sister.
Ding, ding, ding! Stop whining! Absolutely. We don't want dad to ignore her forever. We just want
Okay.
dad to ignore her when she's whining, right? That's the first
Yeah.
order. The real change will happen then. Now she's going to learn to get dad's attention good ways, or dad gives her attention good ways, not when she's whining. So he's faking it. We don't ignore your kid forever.
What would have an example of negative feedback have been?
I don't know. Stay in this question.
Okay. Because I
Just
really
learn
got
this one,
confused.
okay? Dang. Negative feedback is I wouldn't have said anything. There's no change, remember?
Gotcha. Okay.
So I could have been I could have been stuck between positive feedback and first order change, but I
Okay.
don't want dad to ignore his child forever, do I?
No.
Okay, that's not a feedback I want to give. I just want them to change while there's a new baby. And so she learns not to behave this way.
Gotcha.
Negative feedback loops, I don't do anything and the family stays the same.
Okay.
Okay. So I need to get that this is first order change. Everybody understand that? Because that's the goal is that I had to go back to the question to figure out what the overall goal of the family was. Did I mention it was a reading test? I think I heard that
You
somewhere.
did.
Laura, it's a recall.
A family consisting of a lesbian couple and a 9-year-old son has been school refusing for the past year, has asked for family therapy. In the first session, you notice that whenever the son speaks, one of his mothers is quick to finish his sentence. You adjust your chair as a therapist to block the mother and her attempt to speak for her son. You do this in order to address which of the following Bowen-Inian concepts.
Say my
Okay, so
question.
these
What's
are the
happening?
terms. So we have a lesbian couple, and they brought in their 9-year-old son. And this is the first session. Looks like the son is refusing school. and this has been happening for a year. And so the therapist notices that when the son speaks, uh, before he even says anything, one of the moms finish the sentence or talks for him. So you physically adjust your chair, maybe to like maybe rearrange or block the mom's, you know, attempt to speak for the son.
Hmm.
So in order to do this based on the Bohemian concept, um, what order to in order to address this, so you would options would be fusion, undifferentiated ego mass, enmeshment, or triangle. You do this in order to address which of the following burning concepts. So in order for me to change my chair to block the mother in her attempts to speak for the son, you do this in order to address which of the following burning concepts.
What can I
I don't
rule out?
think I'm going, it's not fusion.
It is. That's my answer.
Oh, I thought it was to undifferentiate the ego mass.
So there's only a mother and the child. There's not like three generations in the room, is there?
Okay, that's okay. So it's not a generational thing.
So fusion is the same as enmeshment, but fusion belongs to Bowen. Enmeshment
Mm-hmm.
belongs to Mnuchin. So how many people are in this setting?
Three.
Okay, so undifferentiated ego mass, remember it's three generations. He's nine. We're not there yet. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes
Okay.
sense.
Tell me what you were thinking. Why'd we go there?
I was thinking that it was becoming enmeshed, but I knew that enmeshment wasn't Bohemian. So I felt like she's trying to she's trying to answer for him and not giving him his an ability to be his self. So I felt like
Mm-hmm.
there is some sort of fusion enmeshment, but then I knew enmeshment wasn't Bohemian. Um, so I thought an ego mass, but that's good to know. I'm glad I got it wrong because
Okay.
that's not a generational. There's only three people in this
Got
setting.
it. Got it. Got it. Got it.
That's great to
And why
understand.
isn't it triangulation?
No, they're not bringing someone else in to to the problem
Got it. The son's not even
itself.
speaking, right? They're not even, yeah. So
No,
absolutely,
no.
absolutely. So this one was and a tough one because I wanted you to know it had to be a Bowenian concept, and I knew
Yeah.
it couldn't be enmeshment, and I
Mm-hmm.
knew for sure, and I thought this is where you'd go, and then you would rule out triangulation, and then you'd be left between those two.
Mm,
Then the
mm,
undifferentiated ego mass, and again, earlier, it's like that whole nastiness of the whole entire, generations of people, not just this family. So fusion is the exact same thing. It just belongs to Bowen as opposed to enmeshment.
mm-hmm. That's great.
Does that make
Thank you.
sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Let's go again. I'm gonna give you. Let's make sure you know
Mm-hmm.
Bowen.
Mm-hmm.
Try this one.
Mm,
Well, I think what happens a lot of times is when we're on the test, especially, and we're anxious and we see one theory, one word that belongs to that one theorist, we get so excited that we know it's related, that we don't always read all the questions and understand. So that
mm-hmm.
happens sometimes when you're on the test, you're like, oh my God, I know this belongs to this person. And then we get like confused because, so
I
let's
get
try this one.
excited because I look at things like the answers and I'm like, oh,
Like,
okay, I know
oh
these. I know, yeah, I know what these mean. Like I've heard them before.
my
And then
God.
I
Okay.
start trying to give them to the theorist and then go back to the question. But that was a very good point that I didn't think of it being ego mass is more of a generational, not just individual.
Mm-hmm.
So, according to Bowen's theory, the extent to which one's emotional and intellectual systems are distinguishable is called. According to Bowen's theory, so the extent to which one's emotional and intellectual systems are distinguishable. So to what point do one's emotional and intellectual systems can be different? You can
Mhm.
distinguish them.
And what it doesn't say that you have to fill in the blank is from your family. It's
Hmm.
Bowen, right? So he's saying the extent that you separate your emotion and your intellectual systems, your thoughts and your feelings from your people's is
Hmm.
called what?
Hmm.
Okay.
So
So
it's
let's read
not
all four.
differentiation of self, individuation, family projection process, multi-generational transmission process.
Okay.
So it's not D,
It's not
multi-generational
D.
transmission process. It's not C, family projection process.
What is that? What
Um,
is C? What is C?
family projection process.
What is that?
Um, is Bowen also?
Yeah, but give me more. Give me more. Come on.
Um,
What's projection?
family projection. Oh my, the feelings of the family onto someone else.
Got it. Feelings about myself that I don't like, right? I didn't
Mm-hmm.
graduate from college. I don't know why them girl want me to give her some money for college. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry. Those are just some families in my head. They might have been mine. So
Mm-hmm.
remember, I live with two dogs. You guys are all I've got. Okay. So now you're between
Um,
A and B.
mm-hmm. And as far as Bowen is concerned, I need to know the terms differentiation of self and individuation. Um, and I don't. So,
Yes, you do. There's one of these
individuation,
terms that clearly belongs to Bowen. We've
Bowen.
used it like 17 times today.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Is it A, individuation of self?
Absolutely. That's a
Yes,
total Bowen
Bowen.
term. If we go back, remember undifferentiated ego mass. So
Mm-hmm.
undifferentiated is everybody. So he wants us, each of us, to be differentiated, to differentiate myself from my mess of a family.
Right. Okay.
Right? He says
Okay.
mass, but mess is just so much easier to remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Morgan?
Um, a family consisting of a mother, father, and two daughters, ages 13 and 15, and a son, age 17, enter therapy. The parents are complaining that their 15-year-old daughter is coming in drunk every night and is very abusive to the family. During the first interview, the therapist begins a session by greeting each family member and asking each family member to tell her a bit about themselves before asking his or her view of the problem. The therapist would be so it's a family, they have three children, and the parents are together, it's a mother and a father. All the kids are teenagers and they're going into therapy, and their 15-year-old daughter is coming home about every day, drunk, and they said that she's abusive to the family. Um, During the first interview, the therapist just asked each family member to tell them a little bit about themselves. So before asking them the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So A is joining, B is mimesis, C is boundary making, and D is accommodating. Um, so I would say it's not C, boundary making, because they haven't started talking about boundaries, they're just telling them about each other. Um, I don't think it is D, accommodating.
Now between A and B. Do you recall what B means?
I do not know what B means.
So somebody help her out?
Is that like mimicking?
Got it, but not a bad way. It's part of building a rapport, right? I'm going to, I always say if they eat with bad manners, I'm eat with bad manners. If they got their feet on the couch, I'll put my feet up on the couch, right? Because the goal is I'm trying to establish rapport, but mimesis is behavior.
Okay. Um, I would say the answer would be A, then joining.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm trying to establish rapport with the family. Okay. Okay. One more, guys. Anybody can have this one. So this is the part 2 of that question then. Good job, by the way. Very, very good job. So this is the part 2 of that question. So now, I've joined with the family, right? The family consists of the children, 13, 15, the 17-year-old. The 15-year-old comes home drunk every night and is very abusive. What's the primary treatment goal? I'm a structural family therapist. What's my goal in this family? A, teaching the family problem solving. B, highlighting emotional experiences. C, altering the family structure. Or D, strengthening boundaries between subsystems.
D.
Which one?
D.
C or D?
D like dog.
No.
No?
No. Put that to me in the question. What boundaries do I need to strengthen?
No.
Go back to my question. It's a reading test. And I have to know what a structural family therapy does. What's the goal of structural family therapy?
Oh. So you gonna provide structure to the family.
I want to rock their homeostasis. The way the family is running is not healthy. The whole reason of joining and mimesis is to change their structure. Which one says that?
C.
Do we see that? That's the whole goal of joining the family. What y'all doing ain't working. This 15-year-old can't be coming home drunk every night, mom and daddy. So tell me why we picked D, mastermind.
I was just not reading. I mean, honestly, not reading and tired.
Well,
So
how
go.
well? I want to say how well does that work for you? I just
I'm
don't me.
back.
Okay, dokie, guys. You'll get this. I'll put it in the chat box now. Did it make sense? Did you learn something tonight of why we struggle again with interventions of how we really have to know the theories? And these were our family theories. And no matter what theories we're doing, everybody's got their own language, their own verbiage. And we really have to learn what every theorist said. And that's most people struggle with the intervention questions. And the goal is, again, I just have to know who said what and know their language. And especially when the question, well, you may never see Mnuchin's name on the test at all. I may see structural, I may see boundaries and hierarchies, but I may never ever see his name. I may never ever see Bowen. I may see intergenerational. I still have to know what it means. And I think, again, that's a lot of what most of my clients are missing is the content piece that you, I won't pick on all y'all. Y'all take questions all day long and you got the question right, but you sure in the heck don't know what it meant. And you ain't learned nothing. Nothing. So, okay. Okie dokie, guys. It's been fun. I will see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.
You can get both those on the chat box before I hang up. If not, you'll wait till Monday and the staff will put it in on Monday. You know that. If you want to get it out before I hang up, I will hang out for a minute.
I do want to get it out before you hang up.
Then, Quinique, I'm going to leave the meeting and put you in charge.
Oh,
When you leave, the meeting will end.
okay. All right, y'all got it?
Yeah, one sec.
Almost 1 second.
Okay. Okay.
Great. Thank you. Good night.
Okay. All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Wait, you got it, Mastermind? Okay.